มสาระความรู้ก่อนใครได้ที่ RSU WisdomTV ทางระบบทีวีดาวเทียมหรือผ่านแอปพลิเคชัน RSU WisdomTV ดาวน์โหลดแอปพลิเคชันได้ที่ Google Play และ App Store
Sawadika, hello and welcome to ASEAN Challenge, the show to give you the headlines, hot topics and updates happening around your ASEAN bloc in two languages, Thai and English. I'm Rosalind Tepawan.
And I'm Alisa สิทธิวงศ์ขอต้อนรับคุณผู้ชมทุกท่านเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะข่าวสารเกี่ยวกับอาเซียนทั้งภาษาอังกฤษและภาษาไทยค่ะ
And starting off the show in ASEAN around us, talking about the new you could say improvements made by Myanmar here. Every country wants to list a special historical site as a World Heritage Site, specifically UNESCO's World Heritage Site.
Now, however, for Myanmar, it's a little bit special because they have been trying to list Bagan in the UNESCO World Heritage Site for years.
Actually, since 1996, right?
That's right. So, but they've been rejected all along due to various reasons. And however, but now the good news is it will be considered, and there is a possibility that it might actually happen maybe in the year 2019.
Right, indeed. So for the past 20 years, Myanmar has tried to list maybe at least 8 properties of Bagan and all around Myanmar as World Heritage Sites, hoping to boost tourism and attract more attention worldwide to these historical sites, and also, of course, added protection and conservation. But over and over again, they've been rejected by UNESCO World Heritage officials. But this time, they're working together closely to try to make improvements to ultimately be finally included on the list.
Now, why Bagan, you might ask? Because Bagan is a location in Myanmar which is considered a very dense area with lots of cultural and religious sites, whether it's temples or various other monuments, which is considered as an area with the most amount in the world, actually.
Right, and with all those historical artifacts and sites and just ruins that are calling to be preserved and also given added attention and adequate tourism as well, there's a lot of catches involved. Over the past few years, you could say that officials had been quite concerned about the vulnerability and fragile state of the site itself.
That's right. So nevertheless, they are trying to, of course, register Bagan as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. Nevertheless, some of the reasons why they haven't been there yet, or they're currently on the tentative list, this is due to some conflicts which people are kind of arguing about at the moment now. Now, some people are saying that not all of the religious locations, the temples and so forth, are actually old sites. Some of them have been newly built, but however, some people argue that that's due to the fact that Buddhists, of course, believe that building more temples, of course, is like a religious rite.
Right. So some may say it's sacrilegious to change and really renovate all of those historical places and spots and artifacts and whatnot. But all in all, still, officials are working closely to verify whether or not those areas and spots and items are really as historical as they claim to be, or have they been renovated to a certain extent. But there are many other catches for why UNESCO has continued for several times to reject Myanmar's call to list Bagan, the archaeological area and monuments, as a UNESCO site. So not just the question of whether or not that area itself is pristine and it's authentic, but there are also other reasons. For example, resources.
Right.
The authorities, many are saying that Bagan still does not have the necessary resources or knowledge to support growing number of visitors. If you want to list this particular site as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, you got to have the necessary equipment, tools, and resources, even personnel, to be able to manage a certain growing number of visitors that are guaranteed to come. Not just that, but there are also other reasons. For example, the political uncertainty, the big change, and the you could say vulnerable infrastructure of the tourism as well.
Yes, as you mentioned, of course, once they become registered as a UNESCO Cultural Heritage Site, more tourism, of course, is going to come into the country. And what they're concerned about is, will Myanmar be able to handle this? And do they have the resources and the knowledge to be able to, of course, take care of their religious sites, be able to make sure that it doesn't become too commercialized, and so forth, from the effects of being registered?
Right. So then again, all in all, poor management and poor management strategies so far, legal framework issues according to authorities. These are some other reasons as well for rejection of continued plight for the recognition as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But we did mention earlier that there are positive prospects for Bagan because officials are now working together. Since 2012, actually, the UNESCO Director General, Irina Bokova, has paid a visit to Bagan and to discuss various ways in how they can improve the area and how Burma or Myanmar can progress and how they can actually work and, you could say, modify the area in order to prepare it to become a UNESCO site.
That's right, alongside with, of course, the political situation, which is becoming more internationally accepted and especially well-known since Barack Obama in 2012 went to Myanmar and Bagan itself. More people are starting to recognize the changes in the political structure there in Myanmar as well. So at the moment now there are tentative steps which are quite positive and in which, of course, the UNESCO experts will be working alongside with Bagan and their archaeological team, and this might be possible that they might get a register hopefully in 2019.
Wow, so it's definitely a good start they're making right here. And just by looking at the footage here of the site itself, definitely a historical site that needs attention, and just looking at the pure beauty of the site. Definitely a place where tourists would love to flock given the opportunity, and also with more conservation efforts, you could say there's a lot of potential for Bagan as well.
Nevertheless, of course, as mentioned, it is an area with the highest density of Buddhist architecture anywhere in the world. So it is still a good place to visit, whether it does get registered or not for the UNESCO World Heritage Site. เอาละค่ะมาดูในส่วนของ ASEAN Around Us ค่ะมาดูในส่วนของมรดกโลกที่เราเห็นกันอยู่ตอนนี้คือเมืองพุกามของประเทศเมียนมานั่นเองค่ะซึ่งทางประเทศเมียนมาก็ได้พยายามที่จะจดทะเบียนพุกามเป็นมรดกโลกมาหลายปีละมาตั้งแต่ปี 1996 แต่ว่าคราวนี้ก็โดนปฏิเสธมาหลายรอบแล้วแต่ว่าตอนนี้ก็มีข่าวดีว่าอาจจะเป็นไปได้ว่าอาจจะจดเมืองพุกามเป็นเมืองมรดกโลกได้ภายในปี 2562
นับว่าเป็นข่าวที่ดีสำหรับประเทศพม่าซึ่งพยายามที่จะยื่นหลายแห่งเลยนะคะเกือบ8สถานที่ในประเทศเพื่อที่จะเป็นหนึ่งในส่วนของ UNESCO World Heritage Site เนี่ยเองทีนี้ปัญหาก็มีเยอะช่วง20ปีที่ผ่านมาเขาบอกว่าเจ้าหน้าที่เขาชี้แจงว่าการระบบบริหารยังอ่อนแอนิดนึงแล้วก็เรื่องกฎหมายเรื่องระเบียบเรื่อง natural resource ยังขาดเหลืออยู่เพราะฉะนั้นต้องปรับปรุงตรงนี้ถึงจะได้ list ได้
ใช่ค่ะนอกจากนี้นะคะสถานที่ต่างๆก็ได้มีการปรับปรุงบ้างการสร้างเพิ่มเติมบ้างทาง UNESCO หรือว่าต่างประเทศเนี่ยค่ะก็มองว่าในการต่อเติมหรือว่ามีการปรับปรุงเนี่ยมันเหมาะสมไหมกับการที่จะเอามาจดเป็นมรดกโลกด้วยและนอกจากนี้พอจดแล้วการท่องเที่ยวก็จะเพิ่มขึ้นแน่นอนแล้วทางพม่าหรือว่าพุกามเนี่ยสามารถที่จะรองรับได้หรือเปล่า
ใช่ค่ะก็นับว่าเป็นข่าวดีนะคะ Good progress for Myanmar and we'll keep you posted on more developments coming from Myanmar in the tourism department. But meanwhile, time for a short break. When we come back, more news ahead in ASEAN Hot Issue. Stay tuned.
พักกันสักครู่ค่ะ
back to the program. Into ASEAN Challenges Hot Issues section, we talk about a lot of updates and headlines making the news over the past week around ASEAN.
ใช่แล้วค่ะกลับเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะและในช่วงนี้นะคะเราจะไปติดตามข่าวสารต่างๆในอาเซียนของเราเริ่มกันที่ประเทศฟิลิปปินส์กันดีกว่าค่ะ
Right, in the Philippines, lots of headlines, especially coming from the new leader of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, here once again making waves in the news with a recent announcement here coming from this time the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. It comes out with a new message from the President from the United Nations, directed at the United Nations, saying that they must respect the unprecedented mandate from the Philippines leader here and respect their call of duty, which is of course to crack down on corruption and weed out crime.
That's right. So there's been a lot of criticism around the world, kind of either for or against the methods that Duterte is taking in order to eliminate these drugs and illicit drugs and the war in between it. So, however, of course, we do know that the UN does have some concerns about that, especially the United States and other nations. So, therefore, in the UN General Assembly, actually, which occurred not too long ago, the Foreign Secretary had said that, of course, the rest of the world should basically allow the Philippines to do their business. What's international should be international, but whatever is going on in the country is domestic.
Right. He said in his own words, the actions of the Philippines have grabbed both the national headlines and international attention for all the wrong reasons. And he's continued to say, we urge everyone to allow us to deal with our domestic challenges in order to achieve our national goals without undue interference. So here the Philippines is coming out to, in a way, plea for their, you could say, mandate to do what they need to do to handle the situation in the country. But considering the rising number of deaths, on average around 50 deaths a day since Duterte had taken the realm of the lead of the Philippines, this has caused a lot of alarm, continued alarm throughout the world. So in response to that, you have the leaders here coming out to really plea for that mandate.
That's right. In terms of numbers, up to date, the past 11 weeks, they've seen nearly 3,000 people killed during Duterte's war on drugs. However, this number was recently adjusted. Initially, they said it was 3,800 last week. They're saying now that it's 3,000 actually. However, that is still quite a lot, and it's drawing a lot of attention and criticism from the United Nations, and it is kind of drawing some angry responses from Duterte in return.
Very angry responses. But this also comes at a time when the United Nations is going to see some reshuffling as well in leadership, with Ban Ki-moon taking off, you could say, toward the end of the year. But still, this has also gained a lot of alarm, not just from the United Nations, but from human rights watch networks as well as, say, the United States and many other West countries as well. So here we'll be continuing to see moves coming from the Philippines, unprecedented actions.
That's right. มาดูกันในส่วนข่าวแรกของ ASEAN Hot Issue ค่ะมาที่ประเทศฟิลิปปินส์ค่ะซึ่งอย่างที่เราทราบกันว่าประธานาธิบดีดิวเตเต้นะคะก็มีมาตรการในการปราบยาเสพติดในประเทศของเขาซึ่งอาจจะสร้างความคิดว่าเป็นกังวลต่อประเทศอื่นๆหรือว่า UN ด้วยกันนะคะคราวนี้ทางรัฐมนตรีกระทรวงการต่างประเทศของฟิลิปปินส์เนี่ยได้ขึ้นเวทีของ UN แล้วก็ได้เหมือนกับพูดว่าประเทศอื่นๆเนี่ยกำลังเข้าใจผิดอยู่เกี่ยวข้องกับสงครามต่อต้านยาเสพติดในประเทศของเขาว่าเนี่ยจริงๆแล้ววิธีของเขาเนี่ยถูกต้องแล้ว
เขาก็บอกว่าขอให้ประเทศอื่นๆนะคะรวมทั้ง UN อย่ามายุ่งเกี่ยวกับการปฏิบัติงานของเขาแล้วก็ถึงแม้ว่าจะเป็นการปฏิบัติที่เขาเรียกว่า unprecedented หรือว่าคาดไม่ถึงมันก็เป็นในนโยบายของดูเทเต้เช่นกันซึ่งเขาก็เพิ่งออกมาพูดเร็วๆนี้ว่าขอยืดเวลาการปราบการก่อการร้ายแล้วก็หลายๆสารพัดอย่างที่เป็นปัญหาในประเทศนะคะขอเวลาเพิ่มเติมอีกหลายเดือน
แต่คราวนี้ค่ะทางสหประชาชาติก็รู้สึกเป็นกังวลหรือว่าเป็นห่วงในเรื่องนี้เพราะว่าในระยะเวลา11สัปดาห์ที่ผ่านมาตั้งแต่ดิวเตเต้ได้รับตำแหน่งมาค่ะก็มีประมาณ 3,000 คนแล้วที่ได้เสียชีวิตกับการปราบยาเสพติดในครั้งนี้
ค่ะก็นับว่าประเทศฟิลิปปินส์นะคะได้มีการออกมาเรียกร้องมากขึ้นนะคะเกี่ยวกับเรื่องการเกี่ยวข้องของประเทศอื่นๆในการปราบปรามปัญหาในประเทศ
All right. Moving on in related news updates, still about the Philippines, still about Duterte as well. However, now some people are going to be concerned about, of course, the UN, they're part of the UN, and the United States and their allies or the relationship. What is that going to be like? At the moment now, Duterte is actually turning to China and Russia for allies.
So apparently Duterte is indeed a man of his word, as he has promised earlier, if there is too much interference coming from third parties, he's actually going to make a U-turn, you could say, take a pivot toward Russia and China. So in a recent, you could say, comment here, President Rodrigo Duterte has said he's going to take a little turn, a U-turn. Relationship, he said, with longtime ally of Washington is about to, quote-unquote, cross the Rubicon. He's now going to turn to Russia and China to forge new alliances in terms of foreign policy and what he calls open alliances.
That's right. So he has announced plans to visit both China and Russia within this year, and of course to talk about, as you mentioned, independent foreign policies and to open alliances now. So at the moment now, he's not so sure, of course, about the relationship or what's going to happen in the future with the United States, but he is starting to head over to China and Russia, despite the dispute of the South China Sea.
So perhaps this is a move to spite say the Washington allies and other countries, he said, because in his own words, he came out to say he's going to China. He's going to open all avenues of trade and commerce. They can come in, but because they could not amend the Constitution right now, and he'll give them 60 years plus another 60 years, and by that time, he's referring to Washington, you won't need your factory here already. And he did say that the longtime rival of the US, they're going to ask them for help on everything, particularly Moscow.
That's right. Also what he said as well, he said, and I quote, I have been talking to Prime Minister Medvedev. We had a one-on-one there. Nobody knew about that. And I said, yes, we had a one-on-one there. It took us a long time. And I said, I think I'm about to cross the Rubicon between me and the United States, at least for these 6 years. I would need your help in everything. Trade, commerce, I will open up. This is what exactly he said.
Wow. So definitely with his hardcore and iron fist crackdown on many things, apparently there have been consequences, the domino effect.
That's right.
The peso fell to its lowest since 2009 earlier, and foreign investors have dumped local shares for 6 straight weeks now, affecting the stock market as a result of the brutal crackdown, war on drugs as well. But this also comes at a time where in October, the militaries of both the West and the Philippines are due to carry out joint exercises in the first half of October.
We're going to have to see how this unravels later on in terms of relationships between these two countries. And there has been some news recently as well that he did mention that he might even leave the UN as well. So therefore, I mean, we're going to have to see how this goes. Is he going to make a U-turn, like he said, and make allies with Moscow?
Right, he said leave the UN and build a new kind of party or network with China and Russia.
That's right. มาดูในส่วนข่าวที่2ค่ะเรายังอยู่ที่ประเทศฟิลิปปินส์กันซึ่งในส่วนข่าวนี้ค่ะก็เกี่ยวข้องกับความสัมพันธ์ระหว่างประเทศฟิลิปปินส์กับสหรัฐอเมริกาซึ่งตอนนี้ก็ด้านยาเสพติดหรือว่ามาตรการยาเสพติดของประธานาธิบดีดิวเตเต้เนี่ยค่ะก็ทำให้หลายประเทศโดยเฉพาะ UN ค่อนข้างที่จะเป็นห่วงหรือว่ากังวลกับมาตรการเขาคราวนี้ด้วยความสัมพันธ์ของฟิลิปปินส์กับสหรัฐอเมริกาแต่ก่อนเนี่ยก็เป็นความสัมพันธ์ที่ดีต่อกันคราวนี้พอมันมีประเด็นเรื่องนี้ขึ้นมาทางฟิลิปปินส์ก็เริ่มที่จะไปหาจีนกับรัสเซียแล้ว
ตามที่ทางหัวหน้าหรือว่าหัวหน้าประเทศดูเตเต้บอกนะคะบอกว่าถ้าหากว่าประเทศอื่นๆเข้ามายุ่งเกี่ยวกับเรื่องการปราบปรามเรื่องยาเสพติดแล้วก็หลายๆอย่างของประเทศฟิลิปปินส์เนี่ยทางผู้นำประเทศนะคะก็จะไปจับมือกับประเทศรัสเซียแล้วก็ประเทศจีนเพื่อที่จะสร้างการ alliance ใหม่ใช่ไหมคะหรือว่าบางทีอาจจะสร้าง network คล้ายๆ UN ใหม่ในกับสองประเทศนี้ก็ทำตามที่บอกเลยนะคะใช่
ค่ะแต่ตอนนี้นะคะก็ยังไม่ทราบว่ามันจะมีผลกระทบยังไงกับความสัมพันธ์ระหว่างฟิลิปปินส์กับสหรัฐอเมริกาแต่ว่าที่รู้ๆกันคือเดือนตุลาคมนี้ก็จะมีการฝึกกองทัพของทั้งคู่ซึ่งต้องมาฝึกซ้อมด้วยกัน
ใช่ค่ะซึ่งบางทีการฝึกซ้อมครั้งนี้อาจจะสะท้อนถึง relation ของสองประเทศเพราะฉะนั้นเราจะจับตาดูนะคะ
ว่าเป็นยังไงกันบ้าง Okay, moving on to Indonesia now. Another case in Indonesia has happened in which Indonesia has seized fertilizer ships in Bali in fear that it might be a bomb plot.
Right, indeed. So another country that is also cracking down, but on a different issue here. Indonesia has been definitely in the wakes of cracking down on illegal pirate ships along there and also illegal fishing, for example, and various fisheries around the area. But altogether, authorities on the resort island of Bali earlier detained a ship from Malaysia carrying roughly 30 tons of fertilizer. The police believe it may have been intended for making bombs. So definitely Indonesia has been on alert for terrorism as well.
So at the moment now, customs and police are questioning the crew and investigating the materials for potential links to radical networks, and as it is the world's largest Muslim majority nation, it remains on high alert for militant attacks.
Right, especially militant attacks happening in the eastern island of Sulawesi. This region is particularly known for militant violence, so they're still in questioning whether there's any kind of relation between that area and the ship. But altogether, Indonesia's most wanted man here, a militant called Santoso, was killed earlier by security forces in Sulawesi earlier this year, causing authorities to be even more on alert.
That's right. Santoso pledged allegiance to Islamic State, cultivated a small radical network in the Poso area, which has now been severely weakened by a lengthy security operation.
Right, indeed. But, you know, officials found out, though, that the boat was bound for Sulawesi, quite close. And so they are still investigating the links to militants there and also the fertilizer found. 30 tons.
That's right. But recently they've been tightening security around Bali anyways, because there have been several cases going on ever since, actually since 2002, which there was a bombing occurring in the nightclub, and which killed a lot of people, several Australian people in the nightclub. So ever since then, security measures have been stepped up, and now of course they're going to have to take security measures and protocols in order to figure out if these fertilizers are actually or were actually used or planning to use for bombs.
Right, indeed. And we'll keep you posted on updates concerning Bali and Indonesia's crackdown on various angles, whether it's fisheries, shipping, or even terrorism.
ค่ะในส่วนของข่าวที่3ค่ะเรามาที่ประเทศอินโดนีเซียค่ะซึ่งได้ยึดกระสอบปุ๋ยหนักกว่า30 ตันจากเรือบรรทุกสินค้าในที่มาจากมาเลเซียค่ะพร้อมได้คุมลูกเรือด้วยเพราะว่าสงสัยว่าปุ๋ยดังกล่าวเนี่ยอาจจะใช้ในการประกอบระเบิดได้
ใช่ค่ะตอนนี้ประเทศอินโดนีเซียเนี่ยก็ระวังเป็นพิเศษนะคะหลังจากได้มีการยิงการระเบิดแล้วก็มี false alarm หลายครั้งนะคะในประเทศที่เกี่ยวกับการก่อการร้ายเพราะฉะนั้นเขาก็นับว่าระวังเป็นพิเศษช่วงนี้
ค่ะตอนนี้เขาก็กำลังสอบสวนอยู่ว่าจริงๆแล้วไอ้ปุ๋ยที่เขาได้ยึดมาเนี่ยเอาไว้ใช้ประกอบระเบิดจริงๆหรือเปล่านะคะ
So we'll keep you posted on updates coming from Indonesia concerning the crackdown and investigations into this matter. But on a lighter note, still in Indonesia, a new trend. So going from issues of bombs plots over to a different angle here. In Indonesia, a new trend is rising. High-rise in particular. Yoga is being taken to new heights here as people practice yoga in helicopters.
That's right, helicopter pads actually. Helicopter pads on top of a hotel has been the new location on what we can say the new hit spot for yoga lovers to go up and enjoy an hour work of yoga during sunrise.
So you have to wait for the footage. It's going to be amazing. But altogether, imagine doing yoga, practicing yoga on a helicopter, carrying it over to a high-rise rooftop, and watching the sun rise over the whole of Jakarta, not being involved in all that traffic and congestion. This idea began earlier this year in May.
That's right.
Wow. So imagine, when you're doing yoga, you absorb energy, you create energy, you control your own energy and chi, but doing that on a rooftop really kind of increases and amplifies all that energy.
Now, the good thing about yoga, and the reason why this is gaining popularity, especially because it's during the morning, the wee earliest morning time, is because, of course, yoga involves a lot of breathing and movement. So the breathing of fresh air on top of that rooftop there is probably something that a lot of yoga lovers are. Of course, it's a new experience, better than being in an aircon room with lots of fresh air. So this has become actually quite popular. As you mentioned, it began in May this year, and to the point where they had to open another session during the morning time. So there's usually 2 sessions now going on, and each one has around 50 participants that can fit the rooftop, and each session is 1 hour long.
Right, this rooftop here belongs to the Grand Sahijaya Hotel, and the thing is, this kind of exercise happens not as frequently as it should, and it's also quite limited because of the area right there. Only 50 people.
Yes.
That's a capacity. And the cost itself is quite cheap. $7.60 for one session, equivalent to around 100,000 Indonesian rupiah. This also includes breakfast and free access to the pool.
That's actually really cheap then.
Let's go.
Let's go. Next time we're in Indonesia, we definitely need to go here. Yes, and as you mentioned, it's become very popular to the point where the number of participants has increased 4-fold from 30 to more than 100 people since its opening. And now they're also considering having a what we call during the sunset session as well. So in the morning we have the sunrise sessions going on, and it's become so popular that they might consider doing a sunset session as well.
Definitely. Supply and demand, but altogether yoga has become quite a sensation all over the world. In Indonesia, every single gym has a yoga course. And so perhaps soon we'll be seeing every hotel rooftop with these particular courses as well.
That's great. Well, this is like a good thing for people who live in the city, but another popular destination, as we read about, Bali, which is a tourist destination as well. That's very popular for yoga camps as well, and lots of yoga courses going on around Bali. So that's something to consider the next time you go to Indonesia or Bali.
Definitely. Perhaps we'll see more of these trends happening around ASEAN as well, as big cities like Bangkok also have so many high-rises that can be put to good use, the rooftops.
I'm pretty sure this trend might start to go around other countries in ASEAN as well.
We'll be keeping watch.
That's right. มาดูกันในส่วนข่าวต่อไปค่ะข่าวที่อาจจะเป็นข่าวดีสำหรับคนรักโยคะค่ะอย่างที่เราเห็นกันตอนนี้นี่คือการเล่นโยคะบนดาดฟ้าที่เป็นลานจอดของเฮลิคอปเตอร์นั่นเองด้านบนของโรงแรมซึ่งก็น่าจะเป็นครั้งแรกที่อินโดนีเซียได้จัดงานแบบนี้เกิดขึ้นเดือนละครั้งค่ะในขณะนี้ก็จะมี2 คลาสด้วยกันช่วงเช้านะคะได้สามารถรองรับ50 คนได้แล้วก็จะเล่นโยคะประมาณ1 ชั่วโมง
ใช่ค่ะก็เป็นประสบการณ์ใหม่ในการเล่นโยคะจริงๆนะคะซึ่งหลายคนก็ออกมาช่วงเช้ามืดเลยนะคะอาจจะไม่ได้มืดแต่ว่าช่วงเช้าพระอาทิตย์กำลังออกวิวกำลังสวยแล้วพลังกำลังเต็มเปี่ยมใช่ไหมคะคนก็ออกมาออกกำลังกายแล้วก็ปฏิบัติแต่ว่าในเวลาเดียวกันก็ดูเสียวๆนิดนึงนะคะ ไม่มีอะไรกันไว้เลย
แต่ว่าลมข้างบนนั้นน่าจะสดชื่นดีนะคะอากาศข้างบนอย่างไรก็ตามสำหรับใครที่สนใจค่ะสามารถไปดูข้อมูลเพิ่มเติมได้โยคะเนี่ยค่ะอยู่บนดาดฟ้าโรงแรมแกรนด์ซาฮิดจายาอยู่ในกรุงจาการ์ตาของอินโดนีเซียตอนนี้เขามีคลาสช่วงเช้าเอาไว้ดูพระอาทิตย์ขึ้นแต่ว่าด้วยความที่ได้รับกระแสอย่างดีเลยตอนนี้เขาอาจจะพิจารณาที่จะทำคลาสเพิ่มเติมตอนช่วงเย็นจนช่วงพระอาทิตย์ตกด้วย
คลาสหนึ่งนะคะราคาประมาณ7 เหรียญ60 เซนนะคะหรือว่าประมาณ100,000 อินโดรูเปียซึ่งก็รวมทั้งอาหารเช้าแล้วก็การfree access ไปว่ายน้ำ
ใช่7 เหรียญนี้ไม่กี่ร้อยบาทเองเนาะ
ใช่ค่ะ
ก็ถือว่าคุ้มมากสำหรับใครที่อยากจะไปเล่นโยคะแล้วก็ได้ทานอาหารเช้าด้วย
จริงๆเลยค่ะถ้างั้นใครไปอินโดนีเซียนะคะก็ไปจาการ์ตานะคะก็อย่าลืมไปออกกำลังกายบน rooftop
ใช่ค่ะ
Alright,
moving on to still in light news, another one of the world's largest has appeared. Recently, we've been reading a lot of news about the world's tallest, the world's largest,
the world's longest.
Yes, this is China, and they have the world's largest radio telescope. Recently just been activated this month.
Right, indeed. Searching for signals, stars, and galaxies. This telescope is going to be used a lot, especially for extraterritorial, you could say, let me try that again, extraterrestrial life here, which is a mission China is on. So it's a huge project, a race for the best, and a race for the biggest.
Beijing has poured billions into this ambitious scientific project, and it's been backed up by its military space program as well. Now, this is what we're seeing on the screen at the moment. This is the largest telescope that we're talking about, and it's called FAST. It's 500 meters in diameter. And it's in the southern parts of China. It took about 5 years to build and a cost of $180 million to complete.
Right, apparently it surpassed the original 300-meter Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, and that was a dish used in research on stars that led to the Nobel Prize. So we'll have to see what prize this one obtains, but altogether, the Xinhua news agency said hundreds of astronomers and enthusiasts had watched the launch of this big new telescope FAST in the county of Pintang. So we can expect a lot of exciting new things from this new FAST.
So according to an associate researcher at the National Astronomical Observatories of the Chinese Academy of Science, it told a broadcaster of CCTV channel that the ultimate goal of FAST, or this telescope, is to discover the laws of the development of the universe. And as you mentioned, to look at the stars, the galaxies, extraterrestrial life as well. So hopefully we'll be able to see things that we haven't seen before as well.
This comes at a time when NASA has come out to reveal news about water in various planets in outer space. And so potential for there to be extraterrestrial life is quite exciting. So, exciting times for China indeed.
However, there is some impact, that we have to say, since it is such a large telescope and it's being built, of course, has to be placed somewhere. What happens to the people who are there? The telescope requires a radio silence with a 5-kilometer or 3-mile radius. So in result, the relocation of more than 8,000 people had to occur. So they had to move from their homes. This was about 8 villages, but nevertheless, of course, they were compensated with either cash or new homes from a budget of approximately $269 million from the Poverty Relief Fund and bank loans.
So you could say perhaps they were properly accommodated for that move for a good cause. The answer to extraterrestrial life.
That's right.
There we go. So we'll keep you posted on more discoveries coming from the new FAST. But just judging from the images released so far, it's quite amazing.
They're quite elegant photos that we're currently seeing right now.
Very much so. Exciting times.
ค่ะมาดูกันในจีนบ้างค่ะทางจีนนะคะก็ได้เริ่มเปิดการใช้กล้องโทรทัศน์วิทยุที่ใหญ่ที่สุดในโลกหลังจากที่ใช้เวลาในการก่อสร้างนาน5 ปีเลยทีเดียวซึ่งก็ได้ทุ่มทุนกว่า 1,200 ล้านหยวนหรือว่าประมาณ 6,240 ล้านบาทในการสร้างโครงการนี้ขึ้นมามีชื่อภาษาอังกฤษว่า FAST
ใช่ค่ะก็คือนับว่ากล้อง FAST นี่นะคะก็จะมีหน้าที่มากมายเลยนะคะในการพิสูจน์หรือว่าการค้นคว้าในอวกาศเนี่ยค่ะ
กล้องโทรทัศน์วิทยุนี้นะคะก็มีความใหญ่อย่างที่บอกว่าใหญ่ที่สุดในโลกก็มีความผ่านเส้นผ่านศูนย์กลางค่ะประมาณ500 เมตรแล้วก็อย่างที่บอกใช้เวลา5 ปีในการสร้างด้วยกัน
ค่ะก็เป็นช่วงเวลาที่น่าสนใจที่นับว่า exciting จริงๆนะคะสำหรับประเทศจีน and we'll keep you posted on more discoveries coming from the FAST but that said let's take a short break when we come back more exciting stuff coming up in ASEAN calendar stay tuned
พักกันสักครู่ค่ะ
Welcome back to the program. Up next in ASEAN calendar, many colorful events coming up happening around your ASEAN bloc.
ค่ะกลับเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะและในช่วงนี้ค่ะเรามาดูกันซิว่ามีอีเวนต์อะไรกำลังเกิดขึ้นในอาเซียนค่ะ
Let's check it out. October is the month when Cambodian people celebrate the festival of Chum Ben. Together with Khmer New Year in April, Pachum Ben is the most important festival in the Khmer religious calendar. Cambodians have faithfully observed the festival every year for as long as anyone can remember. The word Ben in Khmer means to collect. Ben also means to cup or mold cooked rice into portions. To ben bat means to collect food to give to monks. The word Pachum means congregate or to meet together. Regardless of how busy they may be during the 15 days of Pachum Ben, Cambodian people try not to miss a visit to the pagoda to dedicate food and offerings to the dead. The festival's final day, September 28th, is the actual day of Pachum Ben, where people traditionally meet together at the pagoda. By doing this, Cambodians show respect for their ancestors. Everyone goes to the pagoda every year to honor this tradition, and nobody complains. The Venerable Lai Sovi of Langka Pagoda said, according to Buddhist belief, people feel sorry for and remember their relatives who have passed away. They may be their parents, grandparents, a sister, a brother, daughter, or son. Om Sam Ul, a monk at Stung Manche Pagoda, explained more about the beliefs behind the festival. He said during Pachum Ben, souls and spirits come to receive offerings from their living relatives. He said it's believed that some of the dead receive punishment for their sins and burn in hell. They suffer a lot and are tortured there. He went on to say hell is far from people. Those souls and spirits cannot see the sun. They have no clothes to wear, no food to eat. Osam continued, Pachum Ben is the period when those spirits receive offerings from their living relatives and perhaps gain some relief. Relatives consecrate and dedicate food and other offerings to them. Everyone goes to the pagoda because they don't want the spirits of dead members of their family to come to seek offerings at pagodas in vain. It's believed that wandering spirits will go look in 7 different pagodas, and if those spirits cannot find their living relatives' offerings in any of those pagodas, they will curse them because they cannot eat food offered by other people. He added that when the living relatives offer the food to the spirit will bless them with happiness. According to the monk, legend has it that Pachum Ben came about because relatives of King Bath Pempeksa defied religious customs and ate rice before the monks did during a religious ritual. After their death, they became evil spirits. He explained that later when a monk known as Kokak Songtor gained enlightenment and became a Buddha on earth, all of those evil spirits went to ask him, "When can we eat?" The Buddha said, "You have to wait for the next Buddha in the Katkot Buddhist realm. In this realm, evil spirits cannot eat." When the next monk, Kamano, achieved enlightenment and became a Buddha, all the evil spirits came again to ask the same question, and he gave the same answer as the previous Buddha. Later, another monk, Kasakbur, achieved enlightenment and became a Buddha, and the hungry evil spirits again asked him the same question. The Buddha told them the same thing, to wait for the next Buddha. The final Buddha, Preasamput, also known as Samanakodom, said to the evil spirits, "Wait for your relative, King Bath Pempeksa, to offer merits and dedication. When the dedication is made, the food will be yours to eat." King Pempeksa finally made an offering, but he did not dedicate the offering to the spirits of his relatives. All the spirits that were related to him cried that night. And when King Bath Pempeksa went to the Valovan Pagoda to visit the Buddha, he was told by the Buddha that all the spirits of your relatives are crying, demanding food. The spirits should get food in the realm of Katakot. Although you offered food and did good deeds, you did not dedicate the food and good deeds to them. So King Bath Pempeksa made another dedication and offering, and this time he dedicated the food and merits to his relatives. The evil spirits received the dedication and were finally reborn into paradise. Mu Harem, Islamic New Year. The Islamic New Year is on the first day of Mu Harem, the first month in the lunar Islamic calendar, which differs from the Gregorian calendar. What happens during Mu Harem? Different Islamic denominations, Shia and Sunni, and cultures do different things to mark Mu Harem. Fasting varies among different Muslim communities. Some Muslims fast on or around the 10th day of Mu Harem, also known as the day of Ashura, to mourn the death of the Prophet Muhammad's grandson, Hussein ibn Ali. Some mosques have free meals, also called nazar, around the 9th to 11th days of Mu Harem. In Iraq, some Shia Muslims make a pilgrimage to the Imam Hussein shrine on the site of the grave of Hussein ibn Ali. In Iran, Tazia, or condolence theater, holds performances. During Mu Harem, these take the form of reenactments of the Battle of Karbala. In South Asia, similar events are known as such as Marsia, Noha, and Soas, Tabwik or Tabut. In Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, they're also known as Hosei or Husei and are attended by people from a variety of religions and cultures. Shia Muslims, particularly those in Afghanistan, Bahrain, India, Iraq, Lebanon, and Pakistan, take part in remembrance parades or matam. During matam, men gather in large groups on the streets to take part in ritual chest beating. Some people also beat themselves with metal chains fixed into handles, also called zanjir. But this practice is controversial and has been banned by some civic and Islamic authorities. The Islamic New Year is a public holiday in places such as but not exclusive to India, Indonesia, Jordan, Malaysia, and the United Arab Emirates. It's not a nationwide public holiday in countries including Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, or the United States. However, Islamic businesses and organizations may have altered opening hours, and there may be some congestion around mosques, especially in the evening and at night. About Mu Harem. A year lasts for about 354 days and consists of 12 months in the Islamic Hijri calendar. As the first month of the year, Mu Harem, known as the month of remembrance, and it's believed to be the most sacred months. Muslims are not allowed to fight during Mu Harem. Some important Islamic historical events that happened during the month include the Battle of Karbala in the year of 680 CE, which enabled Hussein ibn Ali, a grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, and his army to enter the city on the first day of the month. The restriction of Hussein ibn Ali's access to water on the 7th day. The death of Hussein ibn Ali and his clan, called al-Bayt, on the 10th day of the month.
So those are the colorful events occurring this week here on the ASEAN Challenge, or the ASEAN region altogether. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back for the ASEAN interview.
Back to the show. Into ASEAN interview, we talk about some good news in the tiger repopulation in Thailand.
ค่ะกลับเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะในช่วงนี้ค่ะ ASEAN Interview เราจะไปพูดคุยเกี่ยวกับประเด็นการฟื้นฟูประชากรเสือโคร่งในประเทศไทยค่ะ
Let's check it out.
At the Hoi Ka Keng Wildlife Sanctuary, one of Thailand's most protected forests in the west of the country, a team of researchers are busy processing photos and videos of wild tigers captured by camera traps. The more frequently recorded images of the big cats are evidence that the population of the Indo-Chinese tigers at the sanctuary is increasing despite slowly. Sompot Duangjantrasiri, who has been leading a tiger population recovery program in the forest complex since 2004, said in the beginning his team obtained visuals that indicated an estimate of about 40 to 50 Indo-Chinese tigers were living in the whole area. But now the population appears to have increased to between 50 and 60. making the sanctuary the only Southeast Asian location where the animals have been confirmed to be increasing in number.
สิ่งที่สำคัญอีกอย่างนึงคืออัตราการรอดตายที่เราเจอว่าอัตราการรอดตายในพื้นที่เขตรักษาพันธุ์สัตว์ป่าครับห้วยแค่เนี่ยค่อนข้างสูงแล้วก็การขยายพันธุ์ก็ยังคงมีอยู่ทุกๆปีเราก็จะเจอว่าเสือโคร่งในห้วยแค่มีลูกมีเต้าออกไป
Sompod's team is equipped with around 100 camera traps and rotate them along 200 spots around the 2,575 square kilometer sanctuary every 5 months. Poaching was considered the main cause of tiger population loss at the sanctuary. Sompod said the size of the tiger population dropped to around 30 to 40 between 2010 and 2011. And his team found that poisonous baits had been used to entrap tigers. 3 tigers were killed by those baits. Since then, the reserve increased the number of rangers and intensified their anti-poaching patrol efforts. The protective efforts have paid off, but the situation for tigers in Thailand is not completely rosy.
แต่ต้องบอกว่าปัจจุบันนี้เราก็ยังเจอปัญหาเรื่องการล่าเสือซึ่งมีการเอาอวัยวะเอาหนังของมันไปเพื่อที่จะไปขายต่ออยู่ดี
The entire wild population of the Indo-Chinese tiger subspecies was estimated at just 350 animals in 2010, with around 200 in Thailand, according to data collected at the International Tiger Forum held in Russia in November 2010. The subspecies can also be found in Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Vietnam. It may or may not still exist in China. Steve Galster, executive director of Freeland, a Bangkok-based group fighting human and wildlife trafficking, said the sanctuary's success set an example for other countries to follow.
And that gives us hope for moving into the next period where we would like to share that success story with the other countries, because what they're up against in that particular area is just as bad, if not worse, than other countries.
Thai officials hoped Hoi Ka Kang's tiger population can be used as a source and dispersed to wider areas.
ก็มีแนวโน้มที่ดีขึ้นนะครับแล้วเราก็มีความคิดว่าเราจะมีการ reintroduce เสือในป่าหนึ่งเข้าไปอยู่ในป่าอีกหลายพื้นที่ที่ตอนนี้เนี่ยไม่มีประชากรเสือ
Thailand has long been a hub for the illicit trafficking of wildlife and forest products, including ivory, exotic birds, mammals, and reptiles. Some of them are endangered species and can be found on sale in markets. Tiger parts are often used in traditional Chinese medicine. Thai wildlife authorities found scores of dead cubs while rescuing animals from the popular Tiger Temple in June this year. The temple in Kanchanaburi province, west of the capital, Bangkok, has been a major tourist attraction for more than 2 decades, with visitors paying 600 baht or $17 admission to pose for photographs with the tigers. Wildlife activists have accused the temple of illegally breeding the tigers, while some visitors on online forums complained that the tigers appeared sedated. Despite the raid on the infamous Tiger Temple, Thailand's tiger tourism business is booming, and the captive tiger population is growing fast. Thailand offers an array of wildlife tourist attractions, from tiger selfies to elephant rides and orangutan boxing. A July report by World Animal Protection shows that the number of captive tigers in Thailand's tiger entertainment industry jumped 33%, from 623 tigers in 2010 to 830 tigers in 2015 to 2016. 8 new venues also opened during the period. The tiger trade is already limited under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, or CITES. Governments with tiger populations pledged in 2010 to double wild tiger numbers by 2022. CITES, an agreement among 183 governments to ensure trade in wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival, will meet from September 24th until October 5th in South Africa. Barely 3,900 tigers are estimated to be roaming wild, compared with about 100,000 a century ago, conservationists say.
And that wraps up ASEAN Challenge this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again very soon next week. For now, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ